In life, when fate calls, you answer. Ling Xiao, once a web novel author. One beautiful day, he typed himself straight into an early grave. A new life opened up for him, but what rotten luck. He collided right into a villain, a mere stepping stone for others. He was the rich, second-gen young master of the sacred myriad Dao demonic sect, for crying out loud. How could someone as mighty as him accept flickering in the male lead shadow? A man obsessed with the male lead. Yet, as soon as he finally killed the protagonist, the system just blasted him away. I'm flipping the script. I want to kill the male lead again. I want to be the strongest villain of all villains. And so, the tale of the invincible grand villain began. Life always throws unexpected curveballs. And those without the protagonist Halo usually meet an early demise. But sometimes not. The young man, Chu Yang, sword in hand, charged forward. His entire being pulsed with surging power, convinced that today was the day he'd finally break through to the sword's sovereign rank. Just defeat this so-called young master of the sacred domain, and he could stand shoulder to shoulder with his junior sister, Qing Xian. His arrogance was palpable. He even loudly proclaimed he would slaughter every single person who had ever dared to humiliate him. He wanted them all utterly crushed, a single decisive blow. Big talkers never last. This guy was no exception. He wanted to make mincemeat of his opponent, but before he could even land a single blow, he was already impaled. Red blood gushed out, staining the ground. Doesn't this scene just remind you of roasting a marshmallow? Chu Yang stared blankly at the wound blossoming on his chest. His spirit plummeted, unable to comprehend the impossible scene before him. The wielder of that blade, his eyes, were utterly ruthless, and his presence overwhelming. Without hesitation, he spat out words as sharp as a slap. You pathetic insect. This young master will never be your stepping stone. With that, he yanked the sword free. Then, pointing a finger at Chu Yang, he uttered words dripping with utter contempt. That all you so-called protagonists, who flaunt your power, grind monsters, or act all unbelievably strong, it's all just the author shamelessly catering to you, paving your pathetic path. But face a villain with a brain like mine. Lights out. Your only end is death. You'll simply crumble into dust. Saying this, he channeled his spiritual energy, forming a sphere in his palm. Then, he unleashed it directly at the figure crumpled on the ground. Chu Yang had been no match for him from the start. After taking another sword strike, he had absolutely no strength left to resist. He let out a tragic shriek as the sphere struck him, erupting in a terrifying explosion. In a flash, his 70-kilogram body was reduced to barely 3 ounces of ash. Ignoring the utterly bewildered faces of the cultivators from various sects, Ling Xiao summoned the system, eager to check if his Kill the Son of Heaven mission was complete. He was the one who'd activated the system. So, naturally, he hadn't existed in this world from the start. That's right. He was originally a third-rate web novelist. Because he danced on the keyboard continuously, churning out over 100,000 characters for days on end. He overdid it, pushed himself too far, and ultimately dropped dead. He transmigrated to another world. Just like countless protagonists before transmigrating, he, too, had to face adversity, a declining family, a shattered dantian, broken meridians. In short, he had to suffer every imaginable humiliation before he could finally stage his comeback. Only he was different. In this world, he was Ling Xiao, young master of the sacred myriad Dao demonic sect. His parents were the sovereigns of the supreme orthodox sacred domain. Sounds quite impressive, doesn't it? Except, at a glance, he knew he wasn't playing any righteous hero. On the contrary, he was more like a grand villain. Simply put, he was the kind of character who spouted arrogant nonsense, provoked trouble for no reason, and then got one kick from the protagonist straight to his death. But he'd written 180 novels with that exact cruel plot. So why be afraid of being turned into a mere villain again? No way was he going to be someone's stepping stone. He'd just fight back against the protagonist. Thus, his goal in this world wasn't to become the protagonist. It was to kill him. Chu Yang had been taken down. Ling Xiao eagerly wondered what spoils the system would grant him. But his calculations were no match for the system's. Though he'd killed the protagonist, he couldn't erase his luck. Mission failed. The system's punishment, demonic chi leakage. Oh, come on. Seriously? System, let's talk this through. I thought just taking care of that son of destiny would be enough. Who knew it would turn into such a mess? Furious and bewildered, demonic chi surged uncontrollably from his body. Ling Xiao roared, his body slowly morphing. His human form was instantly torn asunder, replaced by a more ferocious, monstrous shape. Once the demonic will seized his consciousness, it too reverted to its true, primal form. The demonic energy erupted with the force of a volcano. The faces of the various sect members turned pale with fear at the sight of his transformation. They all believed the heavenly demon had been vanquished 300 years ago. For him to suddenly appear like this meant the world was about to descend into chaos and tragedy. Ling Xiao's body continued to grow, completely out of control. A short while later, through the hazy smoke, he emerged in a new, colossal form. Oh, we're screwed. Is there any difference between him and a giant right now? The disciples of the various sects were scared out of their minds. How the hell were they supposed to fight a final boss of this size? The sounds of screaming people echoed from all directions. The scene was pure chaos. Suddenly, from a distance, a man named Yi Luyun stepped forward, identifying himself as the sect master of the Azure Profound Sword sect, the 18th generation successor of the Azure Profound Sword arts, one of the 10 greatest swordsmen of the 8 desolations. Sounds impressive on paper. Too bad he was all talk. Facing Ling Xiao head-on, he looked like an ant, challenging an elephant. Just as an onlooker managed to get a word of praise out. This is great. We're saved. The very next second, Ling Xiao crushed him to death. Qing Chan collapsed at the demon's feet, weeping uncontrollably as she watched her father die. Controlled by the demonic power, Ling Xiao had no idea what he was doing. He raised his hand, about to kill the young girl, when the sky suddenly cracked open, forming a massive rift. From above, the 4 great divine envoys of the divine sect appeared. 3 men and 1 woman, wielding magical artifacts, their presence incredibly majestic. Their first encounter. Even the divine envoys never expected the heavenly demon to appear here. One guessed he seemed rather weak because he hadn't yet reached the 3rd transformation realm. But whatever. A heavenly demon is still a heavenly demon. They had to eliminate him now, before he could cause any real trouble, to prevent disaster down the line. 4 against 1. He didn't stand a chance. The envoy in the blue mask lightly shook a small bell on his hat, summoning lightning. He then launched his sword straight at Ling Xiao. The blade spun like a top, aiming for his right arm and slicing it clean off. The woman in the green mask was no slouch, either. She raised her pipa repeatedly, unleashing waves of suppressive sound that battered him. Seeing an opening, the blue-masked envoy charged forward. Quick as a flash, he inflicted countless cuts all over his enemy's body. Danger closed in from all sides. Ling Xiao opened his mouth, gathering demonic power, and condensed it into a massive orb, firing it straight at them. Unfortunately for him, the burly-looking fellow in the brown mask saw it coming. Without hesitation, he unleashed some fire-style technique he must have learned in a ninja village to counter it. The 2 colossal energies collided, creating a massive, earth-shattering explosion. The shockwave was so powerful it felt like it could have blown a small continent right off the map. Soon after, as the smoke, fire, and demonic energy began to fade, Ling Xiao returned to his human form. Lying on the ground, he had no idea why he had turned into that. He thought he was the main character, right up until the guy in the gold mask with a greatsword swung down hard. His head went one way, his body stayed behind. In a scene that felt like the calm after a storm, the great demon lord was vanquished. The side of good had once again triumphed over evil. It was only then that he realized he was the main character. But what was the ending? He died. I thought I'd get a 5-season run like some endless soap opera, but I was killed off in the first episode and sent to collect my paycheck. Furious, Ling Xiao summoned the system to demand an explanation. The system appeared promptly. But instead of explaining, it asked him if he wanted to pay to extend his life or choose to be reincarnated. Whoa, you can't be serious. His face grim. Ling Xiao asked the system if there was any other path for him. And what do you know, the system said yes. Good thing he asked, or that thing would have kept it a secret. According to the info, his 3rd option was to activate the compliance protection feature and then restart the mission. Oh man, I thought it was going to be something complicated. Isn't this a total cakewalk? Ling Xiao immediately snapped his fingers and told the system he'd take that one. The system accepted, but, showing a sliver of conscience, offered a warning. Everything has two sides. You know, this option has a downside. You can only use it once. If you're unlucky enough to die again, you'll be pushing up daisies for good. Ling Xiao knew, but Ling Xiao didn't care. Why overthink it? A villain, like him, wasn't going to die that easily over and over again. And if he really did die again, well, I guess that's just tough luck. What else is there to say? The system received the command and began to reboot the story. While waiting to be sent back to the beginning, Ling Xiao started to seriously consider his strategy. The body he was occupying was high level and had great gear. Operating in the lower realm now was like a pro gamer smuffing in a rookie lobby. The only problem was that fate had cast him as the villain, the heavenly demon. If his identity got exposed, he'd get one shot and the credits would roll all over again. If he chose to follow the plot, sooner or later, he'd just become a stepping stone for the main character. But on the other hand, if he tried to flip the script and take out the author's golden boy before getting rid of his plot armor, he'd suffer a system backlash. It would have ended the same way. After all that, he was still going to die. Suddenly, an even better plan popped into his head. If he couldn't kill the protagonist, he would just have to strip him of his plot armor. Not to brag, but he'd written plenty of these trashy web novels himself back in the day. The predictable moves of those so-called Sons of Destiny. As a former author, he knew them all too well. That author better just wait and see. This time, he was going all out, giving it 200% to show that protagonist a real beatdown. A brilliant light flashed. After everything was reset, he was transported back to a time not long before. Inside the demonic sect stronghold, a group of people scrambled to escape. One of them tripped and fell hard. He yelled urgently to his companions, "Don't worry about me. All of you run. You have to get the word out. Chu Yang, the young master of the Xinjian sect, is colluding with the demonic empress, Yu Qiuzi, to betray his own sect." The moment he finished speaking, a bolt of lightning struck him down. In an instant, he was vaporized into dust, killed on the spot. The demonic empress, Yu Qiuzi, stepped forward. Though her beauty was stunning, her aura was filled with murderous intent, like a yiksha reborn. She spoke. "What happened today must not be exposed. Please spare us." Just then, members of the Xinjian sect arrived to help. Seeing that it was Yi Qingchan, the sect master's daughter, the young man shouted angrily, "Stop pretending. Your sect's Chu Yang is in league with the demonic empress. They're clearly trying to kill me. Xiangba Beiwang. Chu Yang would never associate with that empress. Everyone has seen how distant he is with her." Yi Qingchan refused to believe it and immediately retorted. She insisted that her senior brother would never collude with someone from the demonic path like Yu Qiuzi. While she was distracted, the demoness seized the opportunity to strike. She shouted that she would send them all to hell. Ling Xiao, playing the part of a bystander, watched from a distance. Thanks to the info on his system panel, he knew that the seemingly powerful Yu Qiuzi was actually just cannon fodder. Yi Qingchan, on the other hand, had a luck value of 400. He figured she must be the female lead. So, after the female lead finds out the male lead is colluding with the demonic sect, the third party, that jealous demoness, will try to silence everyone. As the plot reaches its climax, more opportunists are bound to show up. And he was one of them. Yu Qiuzi, wanting to wipe them all out in one fell swoop, decided to unleash a massive demonic formation. Holy crap, you're just killing a few people. Do you really have to go all out like that, lady? Even though Yi Qingchan was the female lead, her face paled at the sight. Countless bolts of lightning rained down. The entire group was struck, finding themselves in mortal danger. Seizing the perfect moment, Ling Xiao appeared like an angel descending from the heavens. He struck viciously from behind. In the blink of an eye, he ripped out the demoness Dantian and crushed it. An easy kill steal. In a blinding flash of light, he stood before them, so dazzling he looked like the real protagonist. No one knew who he was. Some thought he was a man. Others called him an immortal. If you're going to put on a show, you might as well do it right. Ling Xiao turned, a warm smile on his face, and said to them, "You're all safe now." A handsome man, flawless from every angle. The moment he spoke, the sect members couldn't help but cheer wildly. All of them. Even the female lead was completely smitten, with romantic flowers blooming all over the panel. "Ha, I've gotten so used to pulling off these cheap tricks. On the outside, he appeared righteous and noble, but on the inside, he was utterly shameless. If they wouldn't let him eliminate the protagonist directly, then he'd just have to suffer and steal the spotlight for himself. The king of opportunists. This part-time, amateur actor would turn himself into a protagonist 10 times better than the original. After defeating Yuchiotzi, Ling Xiao sealed her inside a small jar. He turned to the sect members and asked, "A moment ago, you said this woman was colluding with someone else, correct?" Getting to the heart of the matter, the young man pointed at Yi Qingchan and declared that Chu Yang of the Xinjian sect was in league with the demonic path. He demanded they kill her on the spot to prevent her from reporting back. "I'll report back to my sect and bring our forces to deal with the Xinjian sect once and for all." Adamantly believing Chu Yang was not a traitor, Yi Qingchan accused them of slander. "You're spitting venom." To de-escalate the endless argument, Ling Xiao snapped his fingers, summoning his subordinate, a powerful expert of the void-breaking realm. He then ordered the man to wipe out the demonic practitioners in the northern wilds. Seeing the void-breaking expert, the young man went pale with fear. His whole face drained of color. He never imagined the person before him held such a powerful status. He was instantly rendered speechless, clamming up completely. Turning back to the female lead. To win her trust, Ling Xiao stepped forward to defend her, speaking a few words on her behalf. In front of the others, "As for the demonic sect, I've already sent someone to the northern wilds to eliminate them. And as for whether the Xinjian sect is colluding with them, I will investigate that myself." Then he flashed a phony smile and asked them if they were satisfied. One look at his face, and you wouldn't dare say another word. Knowing their place, the other two immediately fell in line. Amidst a landscape of rolling mountains, a man and a woman ride together, chatting happily. Ling Xiao said that saving her today was no big deal. But Chu Yang's connection to the demonic sect still needed to be investigated. Qing Chan remained non-committal, offering only a few details. After all, Chu Yang was the young master of the Xinjian sect. She and he had left the mountain to train together and had planned to meet up near the Chanya Mountains. Ultimately, she was adamant that Chu Yang would never betray their Xinjian sect. Since Qing Chan had made her stance clear, he decided not to press the issue. So, he suggested they find a place nearby to rest up before moving on. As if arranged by fate itself, they quickly found a large cave. The moment they stepped inside, Ling Xiao got straight to the point. "Miss Yi, take off your clothes." What? "Hey, can we talk about this? This isn't something you can just force on someone." Pale with fear, Qing Chan stood huddled against the wall, stammering uncontrollably. When he saw she wasn't complying, his face turned fierce. He told her to just smile. Seeing this side of him, Qing Chan couldn't believe her eyes. Was she tricked? Was his elegant demeanor from before just an act? And with his level of power, it wasn't just her. Even the entire Xinjian sect combined wouldn't stand a chance against him. The poor girl had no choice but to obey, sobbing as she undressed. In her heart, she kept apologizing to her father and to her crush. "I'm so screwed. There's no way I'm getting out of this." And for that little performance, the system awarded him a whole 300 villain points. Ling Xiao frowned. Guess a villain really does have to rely on dirty tricks to level up. Qing Chan kept whimpering, begging him to be gentle with her. Her expression was pained, sweat pouring down her face. Just when she thought she couldn't take it anymore, everything thankfully stopped. "What are you trying to do to me? What are you doing to me? Why aren't you doing anything to me?" Qing Chan coughed up a mouthful of black, poison blood. He was just helping her expel demonic energy, but for some reason, he just had to be so damn cryptic about it. He totally made her misunderstand, her dirty mind already imagining what they'd name their kids. Ling Xiao handed her a pill, explaining that it was a third-grade spirit elixir that would help her recover faster. He watched as Qing Chan took it and stepped away to fix her clothes. A smug look crossed his face. He actually knew a thing or two about medicine. The pill he gave her was powerful enough to heal just about any injury. Still, getting to touch her a little wasn't so bad, either. He had deliberately told Qing Chan to take off her clothes for one reason and one reason only. To play the part of villain and farm some points for himself. Meanwhile, Qing Chan actually felt a little disappointed. What was she even getting her hopes up for? A man as amazing as him would never notice an ordinary girl like her. Oh, for crying out loud. Seriously, being the villain is such a thankless job. I mean, look at this. He just shattered a young maiden's pure heart, and he gets another 500 points for it. Where's the justice in that? By the flickering fire, a young woman was fast asleep. Ling Xiao quietly slipped out of the cave. He planned on stealing the protagonist's halo, but first, there was something else he needed to do. He carefully opened the lid of a small jar. The demonic empress, Yu Qi, appeared in an instant. It was clear she had been subdued. But to this day, she still couldn't understand how he possessed an aura powerful enough to suppress both heaven and earth. It was something no ordinary person could possess, and it even contained a trace of demonic energy. The more she thought about it, the more questions she had. Unfortunately, just as she was about to ask, he cut her off. He spoke. I'm the one asking the questions here. You just have to answer. Now, tell me everything about your relationship with Chu Yang. Though she was powerless to resist him, she remained defiant, refusing to speak. Not only that, she even called him out on a scheme to target Chu Yang, saying that he only saved Qin Chan because she was close to him. Ling Xiao neither confirmed nor denied it. If she wasn't going to talk, then he would just have to use another method to get the information. He performed the soul-snatching art on Yu Qi. Once her mind was completely under his control, he repeated his question. The next morning, as Qin Chan was returning his coat, she saw him preparing his horse. Seeing that her injuries were no longer a concern, he invited her to ride with him on his skull horse. He said they could make it back to the Xinjiang sect before noon. Qin Chan had never heard of such a thing and asked curiously, "What's a skull horse?" To give her the simplest possible explanation, Ling Xiao snapped his fingers, and the black horse transformed right before her eyes. What in the holy hell? I mean, really? He had to go and turn a perfectly good horse into a bony skeleton? You just know that thing's going to be a pain in the ass to ride. Our very own Minister of Skeletons. The skull horse appeared with a dramatic flourish. All this just to show off for a girl. Did you really have to be so extra, Mr. Villain? Meanwhile, back at the Xinjiang sect, the story's original protagonist, Chu Yang, was busy teaching martial arts to the sect disciples. Suddenly, he heard Qin Chan call his name. Chu Yang happily turned to answer, only to see her appear with a strange man by her side. Not only that, but she kept mentioning Ling Xiao. She repeatedly said that it was thanks to him she was able to return home safely. Hearing his name, Ling Xiao smiled cheerfully and spoke. Qin Chan, this must be Brother Chu Yang. My name is Ling Xiao. To be able to meet Brother Chu Yang so soon, I'm truly fortunate. But he didn't stop there, deliberately adding another stinging remark. I heard quite a lot about you from Qin Chan last night. Hearing this, Chu Yang was consumed by a jealous rage. He told the man to stop acting so damn chummy with his crush. He demanded to know who he was, threatening to get physical if he didn't answer. Ling Xiao just scoffed, like he was scared, turning the main character into a cuck. Now, that's a dirty trick, and a cheap one at that. It's a plot point most authors would avoid. In fact, it's considered a fatal weakness for any protagonist in any story. Too bad he used to be an author himself. And since he was already plotting to overthrow the protagonist, why the hell wouldn't he use this tactic? Seeing Chu Yang raise his voice at the man who had saved her, Qin Chan reprimanded him. Brother Chu Yang, don't be so rude to the young master. If the young master hadn't defeated Yu Chiozi, I fear my chances of survival would have been slim to none. The young master is the one who saved my life. The moment she mentioned Yu Chiozi, the color drained from Chu Yang's face. He was utterly baffled. No one in the Four Wastelands should be able to defeat Yu Chiozi, given her cultivation level. So how did this guy do it? But he decided to shell that thought for now. Chu Yang grabbed Qin Chan's hand and hurriedly pulled her away, telling her to go back to her room and get some rest. Suddenly, Ling Xiao's voice stopped them. You can't leave. He explained that the disciples outside the ruins had accused Chu Yang of colluding with Yu Chiozi. Until his name is cleared, he's not taking anyone anywhere. Chu Yang spun around, his face a mask of fury, and demanded to know if Ling Xiao was trying to start something. Before they could argue further, their master arrived. He asked Chu Yang why he was causing such a ruckus here instead of focusing on his training. Ling Xiao looked at the sect master of the Xinjiang sect. Even knowing this was the man he would one day kill in an instant, he maintained a polite and friendly demeanor as he stepped forward to greet him. The man answered honestly, introducing himself as Yi Luyan, the sect master of the Yi family, one of the 10 strongest masters in the northern wasteland. He stood proudly, chest puffed out, every bit the imposing sect master. But the moment he heard Ling Xiao say he was from the Ling clan, his eyes went wide with shock. The great scion, Ling Xiao, from the Supreme Taoist sect, was here in person. He immediately bowed deeply, his posture one of utter reverence. He even said he would have his people prepare a grand banquet to welcome him. Ling Xiao waved it off. He clearly stated his suspicion that Chu Yang was colluding with the Demon Empress, and that he had been entrusted by everyone to come here and investigate. With Yi Luyan present, he asked for a bit of assistance. Whether he wanted to or not, he had to comply. He knew when to bend the knee. To please Ling Xiao, Yi Luyan ordered Chu Yang to be imprisoned in the Demon Suppression Hall. Sitting in his cell, Chu Yang endlessly cursed his master for listening to an outsider and locking up his own disciple. Then, he caught sight of Qin Chan secretly bringing him some food, and his spirits lifted. He insisted he had been framed and had nothing to do with the demonic path, begging her to believe him. Of course, Qin Chan believed him. After all, she had known him for so many years. She trusted him completely. She added that Ling Xiao would surely investigate the truth and clear his name. Ling Xiao again with Ling Xiao. He's nothing but some spoiled rich kid from the Holy Continent. Can't you all see that little brat is treacherous and cunning? Hearing the girl he liked mention another man, Chu Yang snapped. He turned his back, refusing to listen or speak another word. Only after Qin Chan had left did he call out for someone named Ming Feng to help him. She was a member of the demon clan. Her soul had been bound to his necklace this entire time. Hearing his call, she emerged and asked if he had finally made up his mind. Chu Yang nodded. Yes. He wanted her to quickly pass on her clan's techniques to him. She hesitated slightly. Worried about his status, she asked if he was absolutely sure. Because once word got out that he was practicing demonic techniques, he would no longer have a place among the righteous sects. He ignored her warnings. Right now, the only thing he could see was Ling Xiao, an enemy he needed to eliminate as soon as possible. He needed to become stronger. Besides, at this rate, it looked like he was going to rot in this jail, for real anyway. Everyone knew, except for the one person who didn't. Chu Yang had no idea that his every move was being watched by Ling Xiao. The villain's gears kept turning. The protagonist gets thrown in jail, only to meet a hidden master who teaches him a powerful technique. What a classic trope. It seems this Ming Feng is Chu Yang's biggest trump card. Well then, after he eliminates the protagonist, he'll figure out a way to get her on his side, too. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. It was Qin Chan. She had come to him so late because she felt her brother Chu Yang had spoken disrespectfully. So she came to apologize on his behalf, hoping he wouldn't hold a grudge. Since Ling Xiao was playing the part of the hero, he was going to play it to the end. With a magnanimous expression, he praised Chu Yang as an upright man who would surely never collude with the demonic path. He even said that if you just give him 2 more days, he'll definitely prove that person's innocence. If you're going to be a villain, could you at least not be so handsome and cool? Qin Chan fell for him hard. In that instant, she became convinced he was a magnanimous man who wouldn't hold a grudge. Her beloved Chu Yang, on the other hand, was not only disrespectful but also a backstabber. Now, everything was crystal clear. The system popped up, notifying him that he'd just successfully sabotaged the protagonist's love life, adding 100 points to his luck value. Ever the opportunist, he immediately played the "my injuries haven't healed yet" card. He convinced Qin Chan to stay in his room that night to continue his treatment. Meanwhile, in his prison cell, Chu Yang was secretly practicing demonic techniques. It was already boring as hell in here, but to make matters worse, his crush hadn't even bothered to visit him. He was overjoyed when someone arrived, thinking it was Qin Chan, but it turned out to be Xiaoko. His senior brother had just arrived, only to throw the food he'd brought straight onto the floor. It was a clear power move. He asked, "Back when you used your dirty tricks to steal my position as the head disciple of the sect, did you ever imagine a day like this would come? Oh, please. To the victor go the spoils." It was Xiaoko's own arrogance that made him blind to my plan in the first place. What's he hoping to accomplish by bringing it up now? Chu Yang decided to rub more salt in the wound. All I did back then was cripple your cultivation. I was letting you off easy, but you've got a lot of nerve coming back here and yelling at me. I should just beat the hell out of you. Maybe even rip out your tongue and see if you can still run your mouth. At first, Xiaoko was furious, but then he just started cackling. For revenge, he told Chu Yang exactly what he'd witnessed the night before. Your precious Qin Chan went into Ling Zhao's room. And the best part? She didn't step out again for the rest of the night. With that, he turned and left, leaving Chu Yang to scream in a furious rage behind him. Getting cheated on, it's not a great feeling, to say the least. Chu Yang cursed them endlessly, screaming that he wouldn't rest until he'd killed them both. Ming Feng appeared, advising him not to act rashly. At your current rate of cultivation, you just need to endure a little longer to achieve mastery. For now, you have to swallow your pride. Once this is all over, you could do whatever you want. Endure? My ass. You know what they say, give them an inch, and they'll take a mile. And you expect me to just sit here and take it for a few more days? By then, those two will probably have a dozen kids already. Ming Feng cut in again. She tried to reason with him, saying there are plenty of other fish in the sea. Why get hung up on just one? She urged him to keep practicing his techniques. Once you've mastered your art, you'll have countless women to choose from. Why let a little jealousy get in the way of your grand ambitions? Chu Yang finally started to see reason. Fine, I'm done with that treacherous Qin Chan. Anyway, she's not worthy of me. Besides, I've still got my backup plan, Yu Chiozi. There are rumors that Ling Xiao defeated her, but that's just ridiculous. Once I've mastered my demonic arts, I'll go find Yu Chiozi and get the real story. Looking at him, Ming Feng couldn't help but worry. She had passed her techniques on to this man for one reason. She hoped he would avenge her clan. But before he'd accomplished anything, his resolve was already being shaken by a woman. Combined with his hot-headed nature, this spelled big trouble. She wondered if it was too late to back out now. While one person was seething with rage, another was casually lounging around, eating fruit. Since he'd successfully wrecked the protagonist's love life, the system had awarded him another 100 luck points. With nothing better to do at the moment, he decided to pull up his status window. His luck value was up to 300, and he'd racked up a good number of villain points, too. He wanted to see what he could actually do with them. But all he saw were a bunch of triangles, with bright red exclamation points inside. Unavailable. Locked. Error. So basically, I got the title villain and can run around plotting things, but I can't actually do jack squat. The system informed him that to unlock its features, he first had to defeat the protagonist. Otherwise, all functions would remain inactive. Of course, Ling Xiao wasn't having it. I was stupid enough to try and kill the protagonist once, and look where that got me. You expect me to make the same damn mistake again? Are you trying to get me killed? What the hell is wrong with this system? Just then, Xiaoko arrived. The moment he saw him, he bowed respectfully. Young master, I've completed the task you assigned me. After his report, Xiaoko asked if there was anything else. Ling Xiao didn't reply, wondering why Xiaoko was so willing to help him. After all, wasn't he Chu Yang's senior brother? The question seemed to strike a nerve. With Xiaoko, he made it clear he would do anything as long as it leads to Chu Yang's death. The two of them shared a hatred so deep they couldn't exist under the same sky. He wanted nothing more than to tear Chu Yang apart. After his outburst, he turned and stalked away. Ling Xiao was left alone, watching him go with a dark expression. He was getting tired of these characters who only exist to be stepping stones. Over at the Demon Suppression Hall's prison, two guards were whispering amongst themselves. One thought that Chu Yang's supposed collusion with the demonic path was probably just a setup by Ling Xiao. They had barely exchanged a few words when the Demon Suppression Hall came under attack. The attacker was none other than Yu Chiozi. The woman brazenly blew the doors wide open, sending everything into chaos. The commotion quickly reached Chu Yang's cell. Before he could even see who it was, Yu Chi-Tu appeared, looking like a total badass. Young, I'm here to save you. Let's go. Right now. Yeah, let's go while we can. Stop standing around talking. The two of them fled to a spot a safe distance away. Confused, Chu Yang asked her, I heard you fought Ling Xiao and were badly injured. Is that true? Yu Chi-Tu nodded. Yes. She explained she was only here because she'd been lucky enough to escape. But before she could say more, she coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Her injuries, they still haven't healed. Chu Yang's face filled with worry. But this Ling Xiao, he's from the holy continent of the Four Wastelands. With his status and power, I'm afraid there's no way I can beat him right now. But it doesn't matter. If we can't fight him, we'll just run. Seeking to soothe each other's weary hearts, they pulled one another into a tight embrace. The air grew thick with their cloying, second-hand romance. Suddenly, Yu Chi-Tu whispered, But if your master and his wife find out I broke you out, before she could finish, Chu Yang cursed. Stop. Yi Qingxian is nothing but an idiot who fawns over that young master from the Holy Continent like a dog wagging its tail. She is not worthy of being my Dao companion. And as for Yi Luyan, he always acts like some arrogant sect master. But the moment he sees Ling Xiao, he turns into an obedient little mutt. Sooner or later, I'm going to take his damn head. Bravo, my friend. Such a wonderful, eloquent tirade. Truly a work of art. You just happened to say it to the right people at the right time. A round of mocking applause echoed through the air. From above, Ling Xiao and the members of the Xianjian sect appeared. Does it really have to be this coincidental? At this point, the shame is so unbearable, he might as well just bite his tongue off and die. Seeing how impossibly coincidental everything was, as if they knew exactly where he would run. Chu Yang turned to demand an explanation from Yuchi-Tu. But to his horror, he realized she was under the control of a soul-snatching guard. She had been a puppet from the very beginning. Having heard every word that came out of Chu Yang's mouth, Yi Qingxian said bitterly that trusting him was the biggest mistake of her life. Yi Luyan was quick to denounce him as well. He declared that Chu Yang had nothing to do with the Xianjian sect. The two of them no longer had any relationship whatsoever. The others quickly chimed in. They all hurled insults, each one harsher than the last. One person said, "Thank goodness for young Master Ling Xiao. Otherwise, how could we have ever exposed this traitor?" Another added, "The sect treated him so well, and it turns out we were nurturing a thankless snake." Drowning in a sea of their scornful words, Chu Yang's anger exploded, and he unleashed his demonic arts, determined to kill them all right then and there. As the protagonist fell to the demonic path, his heroic image completely shattered. Ling Xiao successfully seized 300 points of the protagonist's luck value for himself. Looking down from above, the crowd saw his body transforming, consumed by darkness. Not only that, he was a successor of the ancient Nether Demons, the most wicked clan in the world. Feeling the need to do something good for the world, Yi Luyan launched himself forward, probably still thinking he was one of the world's top 10 swordsmen. The outcome was exactly the same as his last confrontation with the villain. He took one hit, and it cost him his life. And just like that, he was written out of the story. Next on the list was Yi Qingxian. Chu Yang unleashed a ruthless attack, but Ling Xiao intercepted it just in time. Playing the part of the hero, he turned and told Qingxian and the others to run. The man before you has become a blood demon. He's not someone you can handle. As if that wasn't enough, he flashed a brilliant smile and added a few cheesy lines to impress the female lead. You could say this all happened because of me. So naturally, I have to be the one to solve it. Don't worry, I'll be fine. As a poignant melody began to play, an aura of heroism surrounded him. With the music swelling, his majestic presence completely overshadowed the actual protagonist. With the audience gone, it was now a battle between two men. Chu Yang glared at him with utter contempt. He roared, "Letting them run? That just makes it easier for me to kill you. But don't you worry. I'll bring you their heads, so that right before they die, they'll know just how stupid they were to choose you." He ranted on, his words dripping with the classic angst of a fallen hero. Too bad for him, the other guy wasn't in the mood to listen. Now that everyone else was gone, it was finally time for the villain to take center stage. Ling Xiao drew a sword from the formation. He said he was going to teach Chu Yang a valuable lesson. That villains like him don't get crushed so easily. This whole scene feels kind of familiar. Chu Yang charged forward, his body radiating with raw, surging power. He was convinced today was the day he'd level up and finally walk the demonic path. All he had to do was defeat this young master from the Holy Continent, and all his secrets would be safe. His attitude was pure aggression. He even roared that he would slaughter every single person who had ever humiliated him. Yeah, and there he was. With a single, effortless swing of his sword, he carved a massive gash into his enemy. Chu Yang was in pain, but Chu Yang didn't cry. He spun around. He knew the blade in his opponent's hand was the demon spirit sword, a weapon of immense power. But so what? The technique he cultivated was the blood demon art, using fresh blood as a weapon. On his command, dozens of blood demons flew out, each one looking absolutely ferocious. Every last one of them was thirsty for blood, eager to lunge forward and tear him to shreds. Just like their master, Ling Xiao ran one of them through with his sword. He sent the rest flying with a single palm strike. Then, He recalled his demon spirit sword and fanged them with a storm of blades. The whole pack of blood demons was utterly annihilated. Seeing this, his face went from crimson with rage to a sickly green. Without a moment's hesitation, he tucked his tail between his legs and dropped to his knees to beg for a truce. You have got to be kidding me. Where's your sense of shame? What happened to that whole demonic aura? Who the hell kneels that fast and that professionally? Chu Yang was furious, but there wasn't a damn thing he could do. He didn't give a damn about survival of the fittest, where the strong are revered. Refusing to accept defeat, he pointed a scornful finger at him. You're just relying on that fancy sword. If it wasn't for that ridiculously powerful weapon, you'd be no match for me. Yeah, right? You're so impressive. I'm strong because I use hacks. Who the hell needs gear? Ling Xiao casually tossed his weapon over to Chu Yang, letting him use it however he wanted, just so no one could accuse him of bullying the weak. With the weapon in his hands, Chu Yang instantly was beaming with confidence. He figured Ling Xiao was just some naive kid who'd done nothing but grind levels. He raised the sword high into the air and roared, "Heavenly demon incarnation, manifest for me now." As he spoke, a colossal incarnation, like an Azura, slowly materialized behind him. Chu Yang gripped the sword and charged. Now, with his demonic incarnation, his combat power had multiplied tenfold. And with a divine weapon in his hands, he was confident that a single strike would be enough to turn Ling Xiao into a stepping stone on his path to glory. 1 punch to stun, 2 punches to daze, 3 punches to knock you silly. But a full power blow? That's just a death sentence. Memories flashed before Chu Yang's eyes. He saw himself as an orphan, suffering endless humiliation from a young age. How he struggled, finally growing strong enough to crush all those who had looked down on him. He thought he would marry his junior sister and walk the path to ultimate power. But who knew it would all end with a single punch from another man? His eyes fluttered closed. In the haze of unconsciousness, he saw Ling Xiao, whose form had become utterly demonic. What is he? This thing? Is he a man or a demon? Ling Xiao knelt beside Chu Yang, taking the chance to have a few words with the poor soul. You so-called protagonists always act so righteous and noble on the outside, always going on about how you rely on your own strength to crush the villain. But in reality, aren't you just relying on the author to give you cheat codes? Now, I've taken all your luck points, which means that protagonist title of yours is gone too. You've become nothing but a weakling, utterly unable to fight back, because his speech was just that good, full of the kind of trash talk that perfectly fits a villain's style. The system instantly rewarded him with 500 villain points. Ling Xiao got the reward, but instead of being happy, he felt a sudden wave of anxiety. He suddenly remembered a critical issue. Villains who monologue too much tend to get killed off early, right? Can't afford to talk anymore. Time to end this. He unleashed a sphere of raw demonic energy. In a flash, it completely incinerated Chu Yang's body, leaving not even a trace behind. Meanwhile, the system's tone suddenly shifted. It was no longer friendly. In fact, it sounded downright hostile. Oppressive. It announced that he had killed the fated one. Having learned its lesson, the system had made sure to completely erase the target's luck. Therefore, this time, the system has decided to spit it out already, damn it. Why are you being so cryptic and making me sweat like this? After dragging it out forever, it finally spat out the word, success. This time, it seems the heavens were on my side. Mission complete. Reward for 1,000 villain points. Ling Xiao was so happy he could cry. He'd finally gotten his revenge, and he got a huge reward on top of it all. Looking back, he realized a big part of it was just pure luck that everything went so smoothly. Holy crap, this time I don't have to go meet my maker. Amazing, absolutely perfect. Suddenly remembering Ming Feng, he whipped his head around, frantically searching for her. So, the necklace fell on the ground. He picks it up and stares at it intently. This Nether Phoenix, she's a strange one. I fought Chu Yang for half the day, and that woman never once came out to help her accomplice. What a cold soul. Her composure is truly terrifying. He decides not to use it just yet, stashing the necklace in his inventory for now. First, he needs to continue his disguise as the gifted young master and find Yi Qinchan and her group. Not far away, the members of the Xinjian sect are stumbling away in retreat. Yi Luyun is being supported by his disciples, but he looks to be in really bad shape. His complexion is absolutely dreadful. Surprise, everyone! I have returned. And not only that, I bring good news. That villain Chu Yang has been taken care of. He's all smiles. But for some reason, the people in front of him are just staring, jaws agape, completely stunned. He glances down. Oops. Looks like his head was so high in the clouds that he carelessly used Yi Luyun as a doormat. To atone for his mistake, he takes out a bottle of immortal pills and pours a few directly into the man's mouth. After swallowing them, Yi Luyun's eyes roll back in his head. You'd think he was having a bad reaction. But as it turns out, the stuff works like rocket fuel. His whole body is so invigorated that he boasts he could go 7 rounds in one night, all over the room, from the bed to the window. But he's just kidding, of course. A sect master must maintain his dignity. He bows his head to express his gratitude for having his life saved, but his expression still can't hide his worry. Chu Yang's collusion with the demonic path has gotten his Xinjian sect into a world of trouble. He fears their lives will no longer be peaceful from this day on. Ling Xiao, of course, knows the man is worried about retaliation. He just laughs it off, saying he has already dispatched his subordinates to clean up the remaining members of the demonic path. No one will be left to cause trouble for the Xinjian sect. Not only that, but he also promises to put in a good word with the Holy State, saying that the Xinjian sect was instrumental in cooperating to eliminate the demonic path. He'll even help them earn a little reward for their sect. So handsome and kind-hearted. Who wouldn't fall for a guy like that? Seeing all their problems solved by this one man, the group's faces light up with joy. Ching Chan is so happy that she leaps forward and throws her arms around him, laughing loudly. Whoa there. Doing a good deed every once in a while doesn't feel half bad. Before this wave of happiness can pass, another one arrives. By completing the story's happy ending route, he has successfully unlocked a new feature. He can check it out whenever he's free. After playing the hero, he can finally relax and soak in the bath. Killing the protagonist has him grinning from ear to ear. Really, why was I so obsessed with that guy in the first place? Now that I've finally got my revenge, even plain water would taste sweet. He cheerfully calls upon the system to show him the new feature. La. The new feature is a prize lottery. 100 villain points for a single draw. Do 10 consecutive draws, get 1 free. You gotta be kidding me. In my past life, they call me the king of crappy luck. Oh no, this is bad. My luck isn't that bad. I've transmigrated now. I'm not that same unlucky guy anymore. New life, new me. This time, I'm going to break this curse. And the results are in. Getting a 1-star item 11 times in a row has to be the system's fault. Getting another 11 1-star items right after that. Okay, that one's my fault. No, it can't be. Has my luck been cursed by the god of misfortune himself? Ling Xiao clutches his head and screams in despair. 40 pulls, and all he got was a pile of useless junk. He just wants to shove his face into this basin of water and end his misery. But it's fine. As long as I'm breathing, I can still win this back. Wherever I fall, I'll just get up and double down. He decides the ground level is no longer lucky. So, he climbs atop the tallest statue here to get a little closer to good fortune. He doesn't have enough points for a 10 pull. So his only choice is to do single pulls and hope for a miracle. He taps once, channeling all of his hope, only to get a pinch of 1-star pill powder. Damn it, are you freaking serious? He's so furious, he practically coughs up blood and tumbles right off the top of the statue. Ching Chan appears and catches him. She accidentally touches the system interface, but in doing so, she somehow absorbs all of his bad luck. A 5-star item appears. Somebody pinch me. Holy crap, it's real. An era changer pistol materializes right before his eyes. In a world full of master swordsmen and martial artists, who could possibly stand a chance against him and a gun? With this, it's game over for everyone else. All creation will fall silent. Before the barrel of his gun, all living things are equal. He fires a single shot, just to see if the world is properly amazed. But unexpectedly, Yi Luyun comes rushing over. His face is grim as someone who's been constipated for a week. How is this possible? The defensive array of our Xinjian sect, our greatest pride, reinforced and enhanced by 23 generations of sect masters, unbeatable by anyone in this desolate land. It has never been breached. How could it have been destroyed now? The moment he sees Ling Xiao, he asks him if he's seen anyone suspicious pass by. After blowing a hole clean through their prize barrier, admitting to it now would be a death sentence. Ling Xiao quickly hides a gun behind his back. With his other hand, he points vaguely in a random direction. Watching him chase after the cicada, Qing Qian couldn't help but burst into laughter. He let out a sigh, then stammered out an explanation. But she wasn't paying attention, because normally, in her eyes, he always carried himself with such grace and elegance. Perfect like an immortal. She never imagined he had such an adorable side to him. Today's bountiful harvest put him in a rather good mood. To thank Qing Qian for helping him draw such a rare, era-defining item, he decided to gift her the Soul Violet elixir. In his inventory, as he held the gift, his expression suddenly turned incredibly sour. He hated to part with it, but it would be awkward not to. He deliberated for a moment, then ultimately decided to give it to her. But the elixir he handed over wasn't violet. It was green. Seriously? A villain truly is a villain through and through. He even admitted his own stinginess, didn't he? He just figured this low-grade item would have some minor nourishing effect. But he never imagined Qing Qian would suddenly break through right after taking the elixir. And in an utterly mind-blowing flash, she even changed her outfit. She truly looked incredibly impressive, far more refined than before. Qing Qian said, "I'm truly incredibly grateful to you, young master." After swallowing this elixir, I immediately felt the spiritual energy in my body flow much more smoothly. This elixir was perfectly suited for my constitution. It allowed me to break through instantly. He felt a pang of regret deep down. He regretted being so stingy earlier, giving away such a cheap item. How could he have known something so cheap would be so incredibly potent? The more he thought about it, the less he understood. The more he pondered, the more resentful and furious he became, barely able to contain himself. Suddenly, Qing Qian knelt before him, uttering words of profound praise. He had helped her time and time again. Her gratitude piled up, waiting for the perfect opportunity to repay him. Though she knew her cultivation was still weak and her appearance unremarkable, she still wished to remain by his side as a maidservant to repay his immense kindness. Upon hearing Qing Qian's words, Ling Xiao's expression immediately shifted, his earlier good mood vanishing. He retorted, a hint of irritation in his voice. "I think this repaying kindness is just a pretext. The truth is, you just want to take advantage of this young master. Isn't that it?" Qing Qian fell silent for a moment. Then, she finally voiced her true aspirations. "Ever since I was little, I've dreamed of witnessing the vastness and wonders of the sacred continent. I hope that one day, I could journey to the sacred continent, just like the respected elders before me. But as the years passed, I slowly realized that I was inherently slow-witted and untalented. Ascension became an unreachable dream. I could only tuck away that childhood dream and push it into a forgotten corner of my heart. I followed my father's arrangements, going to the Heavenly Bridge sect to become a reclusive new mistress. But then, by some twist of fate, heaven took pity on me and allowed me to meet you, making hope bloom anew within me. That's why I harbored the thought of intervening. It's just a pity I might have overstepped my bounds." As she spoke these words, she fully expected everything to end here, with a blunt rejection. To her surprise, Ling Xiao simply sat down before her. He told her he agreed to let her use him, just this once, because, in his eyes, a person without aspirations, who abandoned their own dreams, was committing the greatest sin. Meanwhile, in the main hall of the Yi family in Qingfeng City, a young man named Yi Fan was being severely reprimanded by 3 elders. This was the very man who'd been publicly humiliated by his fiancée's family today, now demoted from the main residence to a humble shack in the side courtyard. He was cursed as a born cripple, a waste meridian who couldn't cultivate. They even claimed they had only tolerated and raised him out of respect for his late father. Now, because the annulment caused them such a loss of face, they had decided to inflict this punishment. Upon seeing the next protagonist he needed to eliminate pop up on his system, Ling Xiao immediately began pondering how to deal with him. In typical plot lines, the waste male protagonist is scorned by his fiancée's family, leading to a humiliating annulment. Then, the male protagonist coincidentally stumbles upon a fortuitous encounter and rapidly ascends in cultivation. He then returns to slap the face of his former fiancée's family, leaving no one unscathed. The crux of the annulment plot usually revolves around the male protagonist's former fiancée. However, this was his next mission. He still hadn't figured out how the two of them should interact to get close to her. Just then, Xiao Guo rushed in, panting and flustered, to deliver news. He reported that a large crowd was besieging the sect gates, and his presence was needed. Outside, people from 8 major sects had actually flocked there in droves. They knew about the traitor who had appeared in the Mystic Sword sect, and refusing to accept any explanations, they had come to conduct a full search. Yi Luyan stepped forward to address Nanbatian. The more they spoke, the more the atmosphere crackled with tension. Yi Luyan repeatedly clarified that the act of colluding with the demonic path was solely Chu Yang's doing, completely unrelated to his Mystic Sword sect. However, Nanbatian steadfastly refused to believe him. He even insisted they were harboring demonic forces. Thus, he adamantly demanded entry for search. As the sect master, Yi Luyan naturally refused, for he knew full well these people had malicious intentions, merely using this as an excuse to plunder his sect's resources and fortunes. The tattooed old man, Nanbatian, had a notoriously short temper. He barely exchanged a few words before swinging his axe, spoiling for a fight. So what if it is? What about if it isn't? If you got the guts, take this axe strike. Just then, Ling Xiao appeared, and with a single sword strike, he cleaved the man's weapon in two. Not only that, but he also delivered a spine-chilling gaze toward his opponent, a silent, menacing threat. All who witnessed the display were utterly stunned and aghast. This was a man from the Hegemon Heavenly Dynasty. After all, his strength was known to be formidable, yet Ling Xiao had effortlessly blocked him. Humiliated by a mere youngster, Nanbatian naturally flew into a towering rage. He knew Ling Xiao was the young master of the Sacred Continent. But once a battle starts, all bets are off. He swiftly summoned a green-grade great saber. Swinging his saber, he spoke without pause. That was just an ordinary spiritual artifact of mine earlier. But now, this is my ultimate magic treasure, a divine artifact, its power nearing that of the Soul Sea realm. With that, he charged forward, intending to overwhelm Ling Xiao with his sheer presence and power. Ling Xiao calmly drew his gun. Oh, a mighty martial artist, huh? Why don't you taste this for me? Surprised, old man? Now, this is what I call a supreme weapon. In front of his gun barrel, everyone's equal. Anyone who makes a peep will end up looking like a beehive. Nanbatian was knocked back, to everyone's utter astonishment. Everyone was dumbfounded, unable to believe that someone who had reached the Huanhai realm could be defeated so easily. Seeing the situation grow chaotic, Ling Xiao asked, "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge me?" Not a damn soul. A sensible person quickly spoke up, explaining that he was merely a victim, forced by Nanbatian to join the punitive expedition against the Xianjian sect and knew nothing of the true plot. Not stopping there, to show his sincerity, he even knelt, offering his sword and begging for forgiveness. What's so strange about this? Better to accept your lot, admit your mistakes, and leave. Otherwise, one moment of impulsiveness, and you'll be digging your own grave later, folks. Seeing him offer gifts, the people from the other major sects immediately competed to kneel at his feet and beg for mercy. He was certainly pleased looking at the pile of offerings, but his storage space was about to overflow. Where was he going to put it all? He turned to Yi Luyan and said, "Just help me collect all this for now. I'll get to it later." With matters here concluded, as Ling Xiao turned to leave, he was stopped by a rich madam. She said that the Tianmei sect had a gift they wished to present. I thought it was some kind of treasure. Who would have guessed it was the Tianmei sect's saintess, Feng Xiaoni, the very fiancée of the male lead, Yi Fan. Perfect old woman. He'd been wondering how to get close to Yi Fan, and now, fortunately, a bridge had appeared. Without further hesitation, he grabbed Feng Xiaoni's hand and pulled her away, leaving her utterly bewildered and unsure what was happening. He led her straight to his private room and began to question her about her background. According to Feng Xiaoni, she hailed from the Feng family in Qingfeng City. She was once engaged to Yi Fan of the Yi family, but the engagement had been broken. He casually asked if she had been the one to break it off. She immediately lied, claiming that her charm cultivation couldn't be broken. Otherwise, it would be like gathering firewood for 3 years only to burn it in an hour. All her cultivation efforts would be wasted. Ling Xiao's eyes slowly sharpened, becoming cold. He didn't bother beating around the bush and directly stated that the charm cultivation wasn't something that could be broken. On the contrary, It actually gathered men's yang energy to boost one's cultivation power. She broke off the engagement with Yi Fan simply because she saw he was born with crippled meridians, incapable of cultivation, and utterly unworthy of her. Seeing Feng Qiaoni fall silent, he assumed he'd hit a nerve. After all, the engagement was broken mainly because the fiancé looked down on the male lead, only to suffer a humiliating slap in the face later. He clearly saw that Feng Qiaoni's stats were very low. Obviously, she wasn't someone a male lead would ever take seriously. She was nothing but cannon fodder. Feng Qiaoni remained silent for a long moment, then suddenly spoke up. "Young master, I know what you're worried about. Even after the engagement was broken, I never let Yi Fan touch me. If young master doesn't believe me, you can check for yourself." Not only that, but she also proactively shed her outer garments and slowly stepped closer, using her slender, alluring body, her scorching hot figure to entice him. "Stop! What you're doing is completely undermining public morality." Qing Qian, who had been eavesdropping, finally lost her temper, barging in and loudly protesting. But the fierce momentum she'd gathered instantly deflated the moment she saw Ling Xiao. Qing Qian awkwardly asked, "Oh, young master, did I come a bad time?" She had thought her intervention would be met with immediate gratitude. But to her surprise, Ling Xiao wasn't angry at all. He happily told her she had come at the perfect time. He then asked if she knew Yi Fan from Qingfeng City. Who would have thought Qing Qian actually had a connection there? That Yi Fan was coincidentally her cousin. Ling Xiao finally understood everything after hearing this. Qing Qian's luck stat had just increased when Yi Fan was mentioned. It turned out that, according to the standard novel plot, Yi Fan grew quite disappointed with his fiancée and consequently shifted his affections to someone else. He just hadn't expected the person in both male leads' hearts to be this Yi Qing Qian. While he was deep in thought, Feng Qiaoni suddenly rushed over and clung to him. She claimed she knew a lot of things about Yi Fan. If he was interested, she'd tell him all about it right away. She thought she could use this opportunity to get closer to Ling Xiao. But to her surprise, he gently pushed her away with a palm. He bluntly sent her away, telling her it was best not to try anything superfluous with him again in the future. Then he casually put his arm around Qing Qian and left, ignoring Feng Qiaoni, who stood rooted to the spot in the room, fuming with anger. That night, he sat alone on the rooftop, gazing at the moon, and conveniently laid out his plans to deal with the male lead. He had already stolen all of the male lead's luck and romantic destiny. But one thing still weighed on his mind. This Tuhua was an incredibly barren place, with few treasures, and those were only low-grade. Yet the original owner hadn't hesitated to suppress his cultivation realm, stubbornly insisting on coming here. It must be related to the heavenly demon true body within his own physique, a taboo existence feared by both the sacred continent and the four desolations. The original owner only had two ways to deal with the trouble within him. Either expel the heavenly demon true body from his physique, seal it and suppress it, or release the heavenly demon's true power to become the supreme demonic emperor, crushing all living beings. But in the end, he still didn't know what the original owner intended to do, because he'd already transmigrated into the body. How the hell would he know? Speaking of the heavenly demon reminded him of Ming Feng. That woman is surprisingly patient. Been in here so long, I haven't even stepped out for a breath of fresh air. I wake up, gaze at the moonlight, and let out a soft sigh. The heavenly demon and the underworld phoenix, they'll have to be dealt with sooner or later. Now the system wants me to eliminate the male lead. Either way, I'll need to make a trip to Qingfeng City to figure things out. A few days later, Ling Xiao and his entourage set off, one after another, for Qingfeng City. They traveled on a flying ship. Everywhere they flew, they became the subject of fervent discussion. Meanwhile, on the ground, Yi Fan, out fishing, unexpectedly found a tattered map with a missing corner inside a fish's belly. Just as he was about to use a decoding tool to pinpoint the treasure's location, a colossal shadow suddenly appeared in the sky. The common folk were thrown into a frenzy by the sight of the flying ship. Knowing it was Ling Xiao's mode of transport, they lavished praise on its sheer extravagance. Yi Fan paid it no mind. Just as he was about to turn away, someone rushed over, shouting for him to return at once. They announced that Ling Xiao would be stopping by, and the family head had already prepared a feast to welcome him. What's more, Qing Chan, the very woman he secretly yearned for, had also arrived with them. In the bustling atmosphere, everyone brought out rare delicacies from their homes for Ling Xiao to sample. Yi Fan sat in silence, a complete introvert amidst a sea of extroverts. Across from him sat Ling Xiao, one girl pouring his wine to the left, another serving him food to the right. Some have it all, while others scrape by with nothing. Yi Fan glared at the disgusting scene, cursing silently to himself. That lewd, trashy scumbag. Now, Ling Xiao finally decided to make his move, fully embracing his role as the villain. He subtly brought up what Feng Xiaoer had mentioned earlier. A few words she'd said to him about her betrothed. Meeting you today is truly outstanding. An uncle from the side interrupted, telling Ling Xiao not to mind. Yi Fan is a born cripple with ruined meridians, completely unworthy of Feng Xiao, he declared. Their engagement was broken off long ago anyway. Yi Fan, just sitting there, felt the cold sting of their words. Swallowing the humiliation, he tilted his head back and drained his cup, not uttering a single word. Feeling that wasn't quite enough, Ling Xiao then turned to Qing Chan. He deliberately said, loud enough for all to hear, Qing Chan, come to my room tonight. I'll take the opportunity to teach you some additional cultivation techniques. Hearing those words, Yi Fan's heart flared with rage. What's the point of all this? What can I even do? What can I even do? Nothing, of course. Feng Yi isn't someone I care about anyway. She can do whatever she wants, leech off whoever she pleases. Asterisk, it's just Qing Chan, sitting right there with Ling Xiao. Asterisk. I truly don't understand what kind of charm or spell he's cast on both of them to make them so smitten. Seeing Yi Fan remain silent, Ling Xiao offered him a glass of wine and spoke. Younger brother Yi Fan, Qing Chan has mentioned many things about you. What I admire most is your persistent spirit, even with your innate ruined meridians, making cultivation impossible. You absolutely refuse to give in. Very good. This is the kind of resolve we cultivators should possess. He even added that he'd find a way to heal Yi Fan's ruined meridians. Yi Fan was trembling with rage. He was about to remain silent, but a family member subtly nudged him. Only then did he let out a loud laugh. He raised his glass and offered a few hollow words of thanks. Ling Xiao, of course, knew Yi Fan was playing games. But Yi Fan's incredible patience did make him feel a touch disdainful. This male lead isn't just an ordinary one, you see. He's the kind who runs deep. After eating and drinking their fill, the group gradually dispersed. Ling Xiao and his two women seemed thoroughly inebriated. After exchanging a few words with the sect master, they allowed a servant to guide them, staggering, back to their prearranged room to rest. Seeing there was nothing left for him here, Yi Fan returned to his thatched hut to continue cultivating. If I want to deal with Ling Xiao, I must quickly increase my strength. Perhaps what my mother left in my sea of consciousness will finally be useful. I'll take this chance to go see just how magnificent my 8 desolate glazed pagoda has become. Inside his sea of consciousness, standing before the colossal pagoda, he encountered an old acquaintance. It was a demon monkey. The moment it spotted him, it immediately spoke up full of sarcasm. Well, hello there. Still as tolerant as ever today, are we? You truly live up to your reputation as the most cowardly host I've ever seen. Even your beloved beauty is in another man's arms, and you can still stand idly by. Yi Fan might tolerate insults from others, but this was different. He snapped back. Demon Ape Diong, if you don't know how to speak, then just shut your mouth. Don't forget, you're still a demonic creature suppressed by the 8 desolate glazed pagoda. Your life is in my hands, so don't you dare act so brazen. Demon Ape Diong quickly leapt down. It told Yi Fan it had a solution. Just release me, and I'll crush all those people for you. Asterisko, please. I might look like a fool, but I'm not some brainless male lead who'd just let you go. Asterisk. The demon ape is only talking so nicely now because it's suppressed by the glazed pagoda. Once released, I'd probably be the first one to die. The demon ape looked dejected, its schemes thoroughly seen through. It knew killing its host wouldn't work out, but it still wanted to offer a warning. I've seen it, it said. On Ling Xiao, there's a peculiarly strange demonic aura. I've never encountered anyone like him before. I fear that if Ling Xiao targets you, you'll need to be incredibly careful. Yi Fan's face immediately paled upon hearing this. a demonic aura that even the ancient demon ape Diong couldn't fully discern. What exactly is Ling Xiao hiding? Asterisk, the situation is dangerously urgent. I must accelerate my search for opportunities. Asterisk. I have a bad feeling that if I don't move fast, I'll lose to Ling Xiao in our very first confrontation. The next morning, Yi Fan was at the market bright and early, searching for items. He browsed every stall for a long time before finally locating the Iron Fan of Dragon Cloud, an item that could unlock the treasure map. As he stood there haggling with the shop owner, unbeknownst to him, Ling Xiao had already been watching from a distance. After buying his things, Yi Fan went to a vacant lot to dig for treasure. Following the map, he quickly found the first item. It was a top-grade spirit condensing pill. Just the thought of breaking through to the next realm after taking this pill made him ecstatic. This was a huge boost. Of course, the most important thing was still to find more treasures. The map mentioned that besides the top-grade pill, there was also a treasure for raising dragons. Something like that must be incredibly rare these days. Just as he unearthed the treasure, a pair of eyes filled with delight watched him from nearby. Ling Xiao had been tailing the protagonist all this time and couldn't believe his luck. He remembered how the original owner of his body had sent people to the 4 desolations to search for treasures before. He'd even hoped to find the heavenly demon's creation. However, as a villain, his luck was so bad he could never find anything. But things are different now. With this little treasure hunter leading the way, finding the heavenly demon's creation won't be difficult at all. Back with the protagonist, Yi Fan, his body instantly broke through the moment he consumed the pill. He never expected a single top-grade pill to be so potent. Not only did it help him break through a realm, but it also unlocked the first level of the 8 Desolations Glazed Pagoda. Now, controlling the demon Ape Wei Rong wouldn't be a problem anymore. Ling Xiao overheard this and got a little excited. He knew it. How could these chosen ones not have a cheat or 2 hidden in their bodies? He was still reveling in the fact that he could use this guy to find the heavenly demon's creation, when countless arms suddenly shot up from the ground. Before he even knew what was happening, he was dragged into another place. What the? Is this my consciousness? Who knew there was a place this magnificent inside my own body? After calming down, he looked at the massive hole before him and guessed that the heavenly demon was probably the 9 Revolutions true body heavenly demon. He lifted his gaze slightly. Holy hell, what the hell is that giant thing? The moment the creature saw him, it roared, demanding its body back. It claimed that only by giving it the body could its full power be unleashed. It told him to obediently return the body, or it would devour his soul, ensuring he could never reincarnate. Okay, I get it. But before he could even come up with a response, the heavenly demon opened its massive maw to swallow him whole, not giving him a chance to speak. Waking with a jolt from the nightmare, Ling Xiao lay sprawled on the ground, wondering if the heavenly demon had already begun to subconsciously take over. Yi Fan was long gone. He was about to give chase when his right arm suddenly began to move bizarrely. It was no longer a part of his body but was controlled by the heavenly demon, which lunged forward to choke him, slamming him onto his back. The heavenly demon's voice kept repeating, telling him to hand over the body or he would die in agony. One body, now starting to show a split personality. On one side was the extremely malevolent heavenly demon. On the other was Ling Xiao, a villain who couldn't even match the demon's evil. The right hand squeezed tighter and tighter. The crimson glow spread further and further. He knew the heavenly demon was trying to possess his body. It had come to this. The only option left was to use the gun to solve his problem. He returned to Qingfeng City, one arm now injured. Although it wasn't a great solution, it had suppressed the heavenly demon's consciousness, preventing him from doing anything worse. His face darkened. He gritted his teeth through the pain, thinking the heavenly demon might have appeared because its seal had loosened. But he quickly dismissed that idea. He figured it had more to do with Yi Fan breaking through a realm and unlocking the secret treasure in his body. Now that things have gotten this messy, he needed to speed up his plans. Because the secret treasure inside Yi Fan's body was most likely related to the heavenly demon. If he acted even a moment too late, the situation could end in tragedy. Making headlines as the villain whose luck and life were stolen by a heavenly demon would be just pathetic. Just then, a massive rift tore open in the sky. The people in the city panicked, pointing and whispering at the sky. From within the crack, the divine envoy Qing appeared. Surprise, mortals! He was the one in the blue mask, one of the 4 great divine envoys. He announced that he was a divine envoy from the upper realm's sacred continent, and he had come to the lower realm of the 4 desolations to search for the heavenly demon. All residents of the 4 desolations, if you have any information regarding the heavenly demon, you must report it immediately. Anyone who conceals it will be considered an accomplice and punished accordingly. Damn it, just my luck. The heavenly demon inside me just shows up, and now I have to deal with a divine envoy? Is this it? Is my movie already at its final scene? When it rains, it pours. What chilling end. After divine envoy Qing Ren's announcement, news of the heavenly demon's appearance in the 4 desolations spread like wildfire. Yifan heard about it, but didn't care. After all, it had nothing to do with him. Wait a minute. He suddenly changed his mind. So what if it's a heavenly demon? If I can unlock the 8 desolations Glazed Pagoda first, I might even be able to subdue the heavenly demon and make it work. For me, while Yifan was lost in thought, he suddenly sensed someone approaching. He quickly hid the map. He wondered who it could be, but it turned out to be Qing Chan, carrying fine wine and meat. The 2 ate and drank, chatting happily. They kept bringing up the good old days of epic drinking and fighting. Yifan was thrilled that Qing Chan still remembered those times and couldn't stop laughing and talking. Suddenly, his eyes fell on the wound on her hand, and he immediately asked how she got it. Seeing her hesitation, he grew more anxious, urging her to speak up and not be afraid. He'd seen her fawning over Ling Xiao at the banquet earlier. He had suspected that Ling Xiao must have used some dirty trick to force her. The Qing Chan he knew wasn't that kind of person. Pressed by his questions, Qing Chan's eyes welled up with tears as she decided to tell him everything. She warned him that it's best not to provoke Ling Xiao, even if he's completely lost to the temptations of the flesh. A man of boundless debauchery, who has harmed countless innocent young women in the Mystic Sword sect. He has powerful backers. His family back home handles everything he does. Their power in the Saint Province is so immense that not just the Mystic Sword sect, but no one in the entire 4 wastelands dares to defy him. As for her wound, it was from that day she said a few things that displeased him, and he beat her for it. That's how she got this scar on her arm. Seeing the woman he loved being treated so horribly by another man, Yifan slammed the table in a rage and roared. Something like this actually happened. Seeing his fury, Qing Chan knew his feelings for her were still there. She quickly begged him to take her with him. She didn't care where they went as long as she could leave Qingfeng City. But Yifan seemed to be in a difficult position. He told her wait just a little longer, only a few more days. Once he finished some important business, he could take her with him. Qing Chan lowered her head, understanding. She took out 2 jade pendants, explaining that they were a family heirloom she always carried. Because they could sense each other's location, she decided to give one to Yifan. Then she said, if the day comes when Ling Xiao truly lays his claws on me, I hope he can come and save me. After handing him the pendant, she quickly left. Once she was outside, the director yelled, cut. The role was over. Qing Chan instantly reverted to his true form as Ling Xiao. He put on such a heart-wrenching, tragic performance, yet the Yifan still managed to keep his cool. A protagonist who knows how to bide his time is truly no easy opponent. Compared to the hot-headed Chu Yang, who explodes at the slightest provocation, this man was far more formidable. A selfish and sinister character. He wondered what kind of movie Yifan would make when they finally faced each other. Pouring a cup of hot tea, a scene unfolds elsewhere. A bright smile spreads across her face. Big sister, please tell me the secret to winning over a man's heart. Feng Jiaoer tried to butter her up, desperate to know what method Qing Chan had used to capture Ling Xiao's heart. But instead of getting a secret, she got a harsh lecture that put her in her place. Qing Chan told her to stop wasting her time. Ling Xiao was an upstanding man, not some lecherous pretty boy who was easily seduced. The more she fawned over him, the more he would come to despise her. Basically, she didn't stand a chance, so giving up now would save her a lot of heartache. Feng Jiaoer took the words with a stiff, forced smile. In front of Qing Chan, she was as meek as a kitten. But the moment she was back in her own room, she let out a furious roar. Before she could even finish venting, as if on cue, Yifan arrived to add fuel to the fire. He taunted her, saying that the great holy maiden of the heavenly charm sect had to grovel and ask another woman for seduction tips. You must really enjoy the feeling of being a servant. But Feng Jiaoer was no pushover and shot right back at him. She admitted she was willing to be a servant, but if she was going to serve someone, it would be a young master from the same province. Someone who could casually drop a few trinkets that would be a fortune to others. He's handsome on the outside and rich on the inside. Isn't that still better than some pipsqueak? Born with crippled meridians like you? Not finished. She added that he should hurry up and leave before Ling Xiao got the wrong idea. Yi Fan heard her, but wasn't angered. He cut her off and asked if she wanted to team up with him to kill Ling Xiao. Feng Jiaoer froze for a few seconds, then threw her head back and roared with laughter. She cursed at him, asking if he was brain dead. Teaming up with a good-for-nothing was just a suicide mission. What kind of fool would follow you? Yi Fan just smiled wryly, as if he didn't mind. Seeing as they'd been at this long enough, he stopped beating around the bush and got straight to the point. And what if I happen to have this? The 8 Desolates glazed pagoda. With that, he pulled her into a sea of consciousness so she could see the pagoda and the demonic ape, Irong, in its terrifying true form with her own eyes. The ape-like demon warned her to be careful. Its temper isn't the best, so I can't guarantee it won't suddenly pounce and eat you. Seeing the magnificent sight laid out before her, Feng Jiaoer's face went pale as a sheet as she replied, her voice barely a whisper. As if he felt that wasn't persuasive enough, Yi Fan continued, "You must see now that I am 100% certain I can kill Ling Xiao. Work with me. After we succeed, we'll split all of his fortune equally." As he spoke, he extended a hand towards Feng Jiaoer and delivered his final line. "Continue groveling to Ling Xiao for some vague hope, or take a gamble and work with me. What's your choice?" The winds of change were blowing, and it was time to fall in line. Feng Jiaoer went with the flow, nodding eagerly and accepting the deal. All for Yi Fan. Not only that, but she completely changed her tune, claiming her mother had been short-sighted. She insisted that breaking off the engagement had been her mother's idea all along. She herself had always been against it. She then wondered if, after everything was successful, they could perhaps restore their previous engagement. Hearing the question, Yi Fan laughed. "After we succeed, we can certainly continue our fated connection." With the decision made, Feng Jiaoer left, leaving Yi Fan alone in his sea of consciousness. The demonic ape, Irong, asked him if revealing his trump card, the ape itself, wasn't too risky. It pointed out that she was an incredibly fickle person. Just moments ago, she was taunting him and calling him trash. Then, in the blink of an eye, after seeing his power, she completely changed her tune and started sucking up to him. You can't trust someone who flips sides that easily. Hearing this, Yi Fan just scoffed. Of course, he knew that Feng Jiaoer was a nasty piece of work. But that worked in his favor. At least it led to her betraying Ling Xiao just now. And as for restoring the engagement, he was just spouting nonsense. Once this is all over, her only fate is to be silenced. There's no way she'd live to be my wife. Yi Fan then pointed to the demonic ape, Wei Rong, making it clear. It all comes down to him. Do what you have to do. From now on, I'm removing all the seals on you. Your first task is to go and kill Ling Xiao for me. Let's get this party started. Finally, Wei Rong gets to unleash his power. I feel like I could bust out a happy dance. The moment Feng Jiaoer returned, Ling Xiao placed her under a soul-controlling goo. She recounted everything that happened to her today in perfect detail. She even revealed that Yi Fan had sent her to collect a few items from him, namely a strand of hair, some blood, or a fingernail to be used for a curse. Ling Xiao, who was enjoying some fruit, simply smiled, casually cutting off a lock of his own hair with a knife and handing it to her. He then ordered her to deliver it to Yi Fan. And while you're at it, tell him I'll be cultivating right here tomorrow. Completely defenseless. If he's got the time, he's welcome to come and kill me. As Feng Jiaoer's figure receded into the distance, a cunning smile played on his lips. There are a few common tropes writers use to hook readers. The first is the reckless protagonist who, once he's been pushed too far, explodes into a rampage. Take Chu Yang, for example. If he doesn't like the look of someone, he'll find an excuse to kill them first. The second type is the scheming protagonist, like Yi Fan. He's the type to endure humiliation, biding his time for the perfect moment to strike, then wiping out all his enemies in one fell swoop. I've seen these tired old tricks a million times. Once you see through the act, the game is over. Yifan has already lost this round. What's the point of even fighting? He clapped his hands and called for his servants to prepare a sedan chair. He had to take this chance to personally invite the divine envoy for a chat. The guest he was expecting arrived shortly after. Playing the part of the gracious host, Ling Xiao sat down to pour tea for his guest. As he did, he made some small talk about the Four Wastes region with the man across from him. This land's spiritual energy is so sparse, and the scenery is utterly unremarkable. All in all, a dreadfully boring place. But I'm fortunate that the divine envoy, Qing Run, has come to handle matters. It's a welcome diversion from the monotony. Qing Run, the man in the green mask, did not seem to appreciate the comment. For him, hunting down the reincarnated heavenly demon was the most critical mission of their sacred sect. It wasn't some simple pastime to alleviate Ling Xiao's boredom. Despite the sharp retort, Ling Xiao wasn't offended and simply brushed it off as a joke. After all, he'd had the experience of dying at their hands before, so of course he knew. If the heavenly demon had truly appeared in the Four Wastes, all four divine envoys would have shown up at once. Not just one of them. He hadn't expected the man before him to be so knowledgeable. Qingren explained that their sacred master had sensed the heavenly demon's aura yesterday. But it was just a fleeting trace of demonic energy, not even at the level of the First Revolution realm, which proves the seal is still holding. Therefore, there was no need to trouble the other envoys. I alone am sufficient to investigate. Hearing this, Ling Xiao thought he was being a bit too confident. It would be a shame if he were to capsize in a ditch over something like this. Qingrun let out a rough laugh. His amicable demeanor vanished as he spoke bluntly. If that happens, I'll be sure to kill you, young master, just to round out the body count. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. After all, I'm the one who tipped you off. Are you really going to kill the messenger to take all the credit if things go south? But Qingren didn't seem to consider him a good person at all. With your reputation as the young master of the myriad Dao demonic sect, a tyrant who relies on his parents' power to act with impunity, harassing women, committing every evil deed imaginable. The entire sacred continent is filled with cries of resentment against you. You tried to marry the saintess of the ethereal Dao palace and failed. So you forced your parents to use their influence to bully the ethereal Dao palace into marrying her off to you. The people of the Four Wastes only treat you as an honored guest because they're ignorant of your crimes. Back in the sacred continent, with a reputation like yours, if I were to cut off your head right now, people would cheer. To badmouth someone so loudly right to their face. Even though he wasn't the one who did those things, they were still talking about this body's previous owner. Ling Xiao couldn't help but get angry. When words failed, violence was the only answer. He raised a hand to de-escalate, but his opponent wasn't having it, drawing a long sword instead. Just then, the demonic ape Wei Rong burst onto the scene. Seeing how tense the atmosphere was, he decided to air the place out by ripping the entire roof off. This thing just arrived and immediately went berserk, smashing the building to bits and roaring. Listen up, Grandpa Ape Wei Rong is here. Ling Xiao, time to die. In an instant, the entire building was reduced to rubble. Qingren was completely unscathed. Ling Xiao, on the other hand, was pinned beneath the debris. Qingren looked up at Wei Rong. Lucky for you, this is a demon, so I'm obligated to eliminate it. Otherwise, I would have gladly sat back and watched you get torn to shreds. But the demonic ape Wei Rong completely ignored the man standing before him. It roared and swung a massive fist at Qingren. A pity it so recklessly underestimated its opponent. Not only did he not dodge, he even reached up and lightly shook the small bell on his hat. Then, he drew his sword and lunged forward, slashing repeatedly at the arm that had just thrown the punch. The demonic ape Wei Rong was stunned. It never imagined this green-robed man would be so powerful. While it still could, it resorted to the 36th stratagem, retreat. Too bad for him. He'd run into an enforcer of a higher power. There would be no escape. Once they were gone, Ling Xiao immediately sat up, dropping the act. Phew! If I keep putting on a show like this every day, I'll be on the list of best actors in no time. No joke. Qingren has chased them down as I wanted. I'll just enjoy myself as a bystander, watching them tear each other apart. Still, thinking about the bell and the long sword the divine envoy always carries, I find it a bit odd. I witnessed the power of those two weapons firsthand during our last encounter, so I figured they must be some pretty powerful artifacts. If fate has me cross paths with them again, I'll definitely be a lot more careful. That reminds me of all the harsh things the divine envoy said about me. I really should seize this chance to improve my cultivation. Otherwise, when I return to Xingzhou, I'll probably get beaten to death. Not far from there, D-Rong left a while ago and still hasn't returned. Yifan started getting a bad feeling. Speak of the devil. D-Rong charged out so bravely, but now he's back cowering like a scared puppy, tucking his tail and practically burrowing into me. If D-Rong is this terrified, then Ling Xiao must have used some truly terrifying methods, huh? He pulled out the hair and the effigy he'd prepared. Then he cast the soul-slaying curse on the effigy. He intended to use it to secretly kill Ling Xiao, without his soul being the wiser. Who knew it wouldn't harm him? Instead, it backfired. The hair began to radiate demonic energy, then vanished into thin air. Even more surprisingly, Qing Ren descended from above, uttering a single sentence that made my blood run cold. This aura, you are the reincarnation of a heavenly demon. Whoa, sir, let's talk this over. I've been framed. I can't even argue against it. There's no way I can clear my name now. I tried explaining that I'm just a good-for-nothing who can't cultivate. Everyone in Qingfeng City knows it, but it had no effect. Qingren wasn't interested in arguing. He reached out and gently touched the bell. Instantly, hundreds of wind blades shot towards me, ready to strike. As the smoke and dust dissipated, Qingren knew his strike had landed, yet he still managed to escape. His demeanor instantly changed. He no longer underestimated me. He quickly descended to check. The demonic energy still lingered here, but the person was gone, and I can't sense any other breaths. He must be using an artifact to conceal his aura. He immediately broadcasted a message to the holy sect followers across the 4 desolations. Yifan of Qingfeng City is a heavenly demon. Anyone who finds him, kill him on sight. Anyone who harbors him will be deemed an accomplice, a protagonist, unlucky since birth. Yifan ran through the forest, his arm wounded, racking his brain, but unable to for the life of him understand what had just happened. One thing he knew for sure, though. Ling Xiao was the one pulling all the strings. With Qingren issuing a bounty on me, my life is practically over. My only plan now is to use this map, quickly find the heavenly demon's fortune, and then maybe I can turn this whole thing around. Clutching half of the jade pendant in his hand, Yifan gritted his teeth, vowing that when he became strong enough, he would return to save Qing Qian from that vicious wolf. Yet he would never have guessed in a million years that he'd been completely duped. The other half of the jade pendant was in Ling Xiao's hand. He wouldn't even need to go looking for it. I'd personally come to him, thanks to my wicked deed of shifting the blame. And framing the protagonist as a demon, I managed to snatch 400 luck points from him. On top of that, the system awarded me an extra 1,000 points for my despicable conduct. Receiving the points, Ling Xiao's face lit up with joy. Oh yeah, my luck is unstoppable. Now that I have more points, I'll continue to draw cards in search of good fortune. But first, I need to find someone to take on my bad luck first. Over at another house in the Yi family residence, Qing Qian had just finished her bath and was about to get dressed when she noticed a dark figure waiting. The figure suddenly lunged at her from behind. I thought it was someone else, but it's you, the man of my dreams. Ling Xiao leaned in close and whispered in her ear to place her hand exactly where I tell her. The system panel was right in front of me, but innocent Qing Qian couldn't see a thing. She just did what I told her, without even realizing what she was doing. That's the kicker. The golden hand of card drawing truly lives up to its name. With just a single click, a mountain of valuable items, from 4-star rares to 5-star ultra rares, popped up left and right. I looked at the dozens of items flooding into my inventory. My face was twisted like I just sucked on a sour lemon. But it was a sour taste of bitter regret. So incredibly bitter. There was no joy in it whatsoever. Now that the main task is done, it's time to get back to the side quest. I told Qing Qian that her brother Yifan was extremely dangerous, as a heavenly demon was protecting him. So now I'm going to eradicate the evil one. I told her to stay safely within the city walls and not to wander off to avoid any trouble. Seeing me about to leave, Qing Qian wanted to come along too. She even claimed she was my maid, whose duty it was to remain by my side and serve me. Ling Xiao asked, Do you truly see yourself as just a maid? Or are you saying you want to take things a step further? My true feelings must have been exposed long ago. No longer feeling shy, Qin Qian plainly stated she wanted to stay by his side forever. If young master doesn't mind. Mine a lot. I mind very much. Ling Xiao put on a cold expression and flatly refused. Talk about a cold shower. My fiancé in Shengzhou possesses the heavenly scroll of national council. You're just a country bumpkin. How could you ever be worthy of this young master? His words struck her like a bolt of lightning, leaving the young maiden's heart shattered. The moment Ling Xiao left, Feng Qiaoer sauntered in to mock her. Leaning against the window frame, she said Qin Chan was lucky she'd taught her not to try and seduce him. By following that advice, she'd managed to score a deal and get herself a top-grade medicinal pill. And now, it was time to return the favor. She advised Qin Chan to follow her example. After all, a man that handsome and rich was clearly out of both their leagues. Wouldn't it be so much better to just relax, earn a few rewards, and not get your heart broken? Qin Chan lowered her head in silence. Tears welled in her eyes as a storm raged within her heart. While Qin Chan was heartbroken over the rejection, Ling Xiao wasn't faring much better. He rode away on his skeletal steed, his heart heavy with unspoken thoughts. She was the heroine, he was the villain. With such opposing roles, how could the two of them ever be together? Following the map, Yi Fan finally reached the location of the dragon's head. Before him was a massive door set deep within a cave. Overjoyed, he rushed forward, completely unaware that he was being followed. Beyond the gate was another wall. A massive wall. Before their eyes was a terrifyingly huge dragon mask. The only problem was, ever since having nearly all his luck stolen, the protagonist's intelligence seemed to be dropping by the minute. Watching him fumble around without making any progress, Ling Xiao couldn't stand it any longer and decided he had to find a way to help. If he didn't, his very useful plot device would soon meet an untimely end, and that would just ruin everything. He flicked a small stone toward the dragon head's right eye. Yi Fan saw it, but the clueless oaf just stood there scratching his head. Suppressing his frustration, Ling Xiao threw another stone, causing the dragon's eye to sink in and activate the mechanism. This time Yi Fan instantly whirled around and shouted, "Who's there?" But when he looked, all he saw was a tree, and so he assumed it was just a tree. He completely failed to notice Ling Xiao hiding right behind it. Once activated, the door slowly rose, revealing a large cavern. Young Yi Fan congratulated himself on being smart enough to solve the puzzle. Little did he know, 99% of the credit belonged to the villain secretly helping him from the shadows. Deep inside was a vast, secret realm. On the wall was a mural depicting a demon wreaking havoc upon the mortal world, unable to bear the sight of the people suffering. A great figure rallied the masses to fight back against the demon. But the creature was too powerful. Even with their combined strength, they couldn't kill it. So, that great hero decided to sacrifice himself, splitting the demon into 9 pieces and sealing them away one by one. Looking at this, Ling Xiao suddenly realized something was off. According to the painting, wasn't this very place one of those seals? Just then, the ancient tree before them stirred unexpectedly. It turned out to be a 1,000-year-old demon. It opened its mouth and told Yi Fan to leave peacefully. But with the prize so close, there was no way he was backing down. Yi Fan knew full well this was the guardian of the secret treasure. Once he obtained this great fortune, he would return and immediately kill Ling Xiao. The object sealed here just so happened to be the most evil thing in the world, something mortals could never handle. It was right here. To be precise, it was hidden inside this monstrous tree. Ling Xiao, watching from the side, knew this was the final boss. His job now was to wait for Yi Fan to defeat it, then swoop in and claim the prize. Why jump in and get his hands dirty when he could just sit back and reap the rewards? The battle began. To get the treasure quickly, Yi Fan shouted for Erong, but when he called, that damn thing was nowhere to be found. "Hello? Anybody home? You can't be serious." While he was distracted, a tree root whipped him hard across the body. Blood sprayed from the wound, splattering across the ground. Knowing he could no longer rely on the demon ape Erong, he decided to fend for himself. Yi Fan clapped his hands together, borrowing the power of the 8 Desolations Azure Glass Pagoda to form a layer of defensive armor around himself. Then, he charged in for a life-or-death battle with the tree demon. The protagonist, truly living up to his title, fought with great vigor. His power shook the heavens and earth, filling the air with smoke and fire. One guy was out there fighting until he was ready to cough up blood, while the other was just lounging around, watching it all like a movie. An hour passed. The fight had dragged on from dawn until dusk, and it still wasn't over. Ling Xiao began to feel that something wasn't right. He knew from his experience writing web novels. Most fight scenes in these novels have very little creative content, but they take up a massive amount of page space. A fight this long could only mean one thing. The author was padding the chapter count to milk more unlocked fees from the readers. And even if you're going to pad, there's a limit. If you drag out a fight scene like some Indian action movie, the readers in the comment section will definitely teach you a lesson. They won't let that slide. Ling Xiao connected the dots between Yi Fan's snail-paced puzzle solving and his now pitifully weak power. Could it really be because his luck stat dropped? Is that what made him like this? After a long, grueling struggle, Yi Fan finally managed to chop down the ancient tree. Its trunk was sliced in two, revealing the treasure hidden inside. Watching from the sidelines, Ling Xiao began to feel a sense of dread. According to standard story tropes, this is the moment when the cannon fodder in the hero's party steps up to open the treasure chest. Meanwhile, the protagonist remains vigilant. And if he's lucky, he'll ultimately overcome the danger. But this kid, Yi Fan, only had 100 luck points left. He was genuinely worried the guy would run into some trap and just kick the bucket without warning. With the treasure right before his eyes, Yi Fan happily strode toward it. With this, I won't have to be afraid of Ling Xiao anymore. I'm going to go back and slap every single person I hate right across the face. After all that big talk, he actually went and put his hands right on the treasure. It's over. My family has a 3-generation streak of living long lives, but I guess I'm destined for an early grave. This Yi Fan has no one to scout the path ahead for him. And with 100 luck points to his name, if he pulls this stunt, I'll be the one left screaming. If the main character is unlucky enough to just die like that, the system will probably have me executed. Ling Xiao was so terrified he nearly passed out. He rushed forward to stop him. Hold on, Yi Fan. Don't get near that tree. Yi Fan spun around, and the moment he saw him, he let him have it. He was sure Ling Xiao was there to snatch the treasure, trying to be the Oriole waiting behind the mantis, letting him clear out the guardians just so he could swoop in and steal the secret prize. Ling Xiao knew he wasn't wrong, but he couldn't let him die now. This isn't what you think, little brother. That was my other personality. But before he could even get a few words out, his opponent unloaded all of his pin-up rage and humiliation right on him. The incident with Feng Qiaoer, the matter of Qing Chan, he brought up every single one. And as if words weren't enough, he seized the opportunity to launch a surprise attack. The blow sent him flying backward a considerable distance. Their tense standoff showed no signs of cooling down. Suddenly, the small flowers circling the base of the ancient tree seemed to activate, unleashing a massive cloud of poisonous gas. By the time Yi Fan spun around and realized what was happening, it was too late. Because even as he dodged, he had already inhaled more than enough of the toxic fumes.